بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها فلا يخاف عقباها
Qur'an, Chapter 91, Surah Ash-Shams, Sun, by Sayyid Qutb, translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Behold the sun in its radiant splendor, and the moon as it follows in serene grace. Witness the day as it unveils the world, and the night as it gently covers all in its embrace. Consider the heavens and their wondrous creation, and the earth with its expansive spread. Reflect upon the soul, perfected and balanced, inspired with both its evil and its piety. Truly, successful is the one who purifies it, and lost is the one who corrupts it. Thamud, in their arrogance, denied the truth. When the most wretched among them rose in defiance, the messenger of God warned them, saying, Behold the she-camel of God, and let her drink. But they belied him and slaughtered her. So their sustainer crushed them in their sin, and levelled them to the ground, fearing no consequence or aftermath. This short surah, with its unified rhythm and harmonious cadence, draws upon the scenes of the cosmos and its phenomena, framing within them a profound truth. It speaks of the human soul, its innate dispositions, the role of man in shaping his destiny, and the heavy responsibility he bears for its outcome. This truth is intricately linked with the fixed realities of the universe, as depicted in the imagery of the Surah. The Surah also recounts the story of Talmud, their rejection of their prophet's warning, their merciless act against the she-camel, and their eventual destruction. It serves as a vivid example of the ruin that befalls those who neglect the purification of their souls, allowing them to be led astray by wickedness instead of nurturing them with righteousness, as emphasized in the opening verses. Successful is the one who purifies it, and lost is the one who corrupts it. By the sun in its radiant splendor, and the moon as it follows in serene grace, and the day as it unveils the world, and the night as it gently covers all in its embrace, and the heavens and their wondrous creation, and the earth with its expansive spread, and the soul, perfected and balanced, inspired with both its evil and its piety. Truly successful is the one who purifies it, and lost is the one who corrupts it. Here we find a suggestive oath by the sun in its radiant splendor, by the sun in its entirety, but especially when it ascends and shines brightly at the height of its beauty and warmth in winter, and at the peak of its clarity before the midday heat in summer. For the sun, in its radiant splendor, is at its most magnificent and purest. It has been said that radiant splendor may refer to the entire day, but we see no reason to deviate from the near meaning of morning light, which holds a special significance, as we have noted. And by the moon as it follows the sun, with its gentle, translucent, pure light. There is an ancient bond between the moon and the human heart, deeply rooted in the depths of consciousness, awakening and stirring whenever the heart encounters the moon in any state. The moon has its whispers and suggestions to the heart, its silent praises and remembrances of the Creator, which the sensitive heart almost hears in the moonlight's flow. At times the heart feels as though it is bathing in the moon's overwhelming light on a full moon night, cleansing itself, drinking deeply, embracing this beloved light, and finding within it the Spirit of God. And by the day as it unveils the earth, implying that the radiant splendor refers to a specific period, not the entire day. The pronoun in unveils seems to refer to the sun mentioned earlier, but the Quranic expression hints that it may also refer to this vast earth. The Quranic style often contains such subtle suggestions, implicit in the context because they are familiar to human perception, evoked naturally by the expression. Daylight reveals and uncovers the earth. Day has its effects on human life, which we know well, but man, through long familiarity, may forget the beauty of the day and its impact. This brief touch in such a context awakens him and prompts him to reflect on this great phenomenon, and by the night as it covers all. The covering is the counterpart to unveiling, and night is a shroud that envelops everything and conceals it. It is a scene that resonates in the soul and has an effect on human life, just like the day. Then, by the heavens and their magnificent construction, he swears, the heavens and their creation. The word M here denotes a source. When we speak of the heavens, our minds instinctively turn to that which we see above us, like a vast dome wherever we look, scattered with stars and planets orbiting in their paths. Yet, the true nature of the heavens remains beyond our grasp. What we see above us is a stable, unshakable expanse that displays the characteristic of construction in its steadfastness and cohesion. But how is it built? What holds its parts together, preventing them from scattering as they float in the infinite space with neither beginning nor end that we know of? This is beyond our comprehension. All that has been said about it is mere theory, subject to refutation and revision, without any firm foundation or permanence. We are only certain that behind everything it is the hand of God that sustains this structure. Indeed, God holds the heavens and the earth so they do not vanish. And if they were to vanish, there is none who could hold them back after him. This is the only true and certain knowledge. Likewise he swears by the earth and its spreading. And the earth and its spreading. Spreading, like flattening, refers to the earth's extension and preparation for life. It is a manifest reality upon which the existence of the human race and all living beings depends. These features and conditions that God's hand has set in the earth are what allow life to exist upon it, according to his wisdom and plan. From what appears to us, if any of these features were to be disturbed, life could neither arise nor continue on its current course. The spreading of the earth, or its flattening as mentioned in another verse. And after that he spread the earth. He extracted from it its water and its pasture. This is the greatest of these features and conditions. Only God's hand has undertaken this task. Thus, when the spreading of the earth is mentioned here, it is a reminder of the hand behind it, a touch that stirs the human heart to reflection and remembrance. Then comes the great truth about the human soul in the context of this oath, linked with the cosmos, its scenes and its phenomena. It is one of the great signs in this interwoven, harmonious existence. And the soul, and he who perfectly fashioned it, and inspired it with both its corruption and its piety. Indeed, successful is the one who purifies it, and indeed, lost is the one who corrupts it. These 4 verses, along with the verse from Surah Al-Balad, and we guided him to the 2 paths, and the verse from Surah Al-Insan, indeed, we guided him to the path, whether he be grateful or ungrateful, form the foundation of the Islamic psychological theory. They are connected and complementary to the verses that refer to the dual nature of man, as in the verse from Surah Al-Hijr, when your sustainer said to the angels, "Indeed, I am creating a human being from clay. So when I have fashioned him and breathed into him of my spirit, then fall down before him in prostration." They are also linked to the verses that establish individual responsibility, as in the verse from Surah Al-Mudaththir. Every soul is held in pledge for what it has earned, and the verses that assert that God's actions toward humanity are based on the reality of their condition, as in the verse from Surah Al-Ra'd, "Indeed, God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves." Through these and similar verses, Islam's perspective on humanity is clearly outlined. This being is created with a dual nature, a dual potential, and a dual direction. By dual, we mean specifically that by his very composition of earthly clay and the breath of God's Spirit within him, he is endowed with equal inclinations toward both good and evil, guidance and misguidance. He is capable of distinguishing between good and evil, and of directing himself toward either. This ability is inherent within his being, which the Qur'an expresses through terms like inspiration and the soul, and he who perfectly fashioned it and inspired it with both its corruption and its piety. Or guidance, and we guided him to the 2 paths. It lies within his very core in the form of potential. The messages, directives, and external influences only awaken, sharpen, and direct this potential one way or another, but they do not create it anew, for it is an inherent nature existing by its very nature and inspired by God. Alongside this innate potential lies a conscious, discerning force within man, which is responsible for his actions. Whoever uses this force to purify and cleanse his soul, to nurture its potential for good, and to elevate it above its potential for evil is indeed successful. And whoever darkens this force, buries it and weakens it, is indeed lost. Indeed, successful is the one who purifies it, and indeed lost is the one who corrupts it. Therefore, there is a responsibility that follows from the fact that man is endowed with this conscious, discerning force capable of choice and direction, capable of directing his innate potential to grow in the field of good or the field of evil alike. This freedom is accompanied by responsibility, this ability by duty, this gift by obligation. In his mercy toward man, God has not left him solely to his innate potential or his conscious, discerning force. He has aided him with the messages that set forth precise, unwavering standards that unveil the inspirations of faith and the signs of guidance within himself and in the horizons around him, and that clear away the veils of desire so that he may see the truth in its pure form. Thus, the path becomes clear to him without confusion or doubt, allowing the conscious, discerning force to act with full awareness of the true direction it chooses and follows. This, in sum, is God's will for man. Everything that occurs within its scope fulfills God's will and his overarching decree. This comprehensive perspective gives rise to several truths of great value in educational guidance. Firstly, it elevates the value of this human being, making him worthy of bearing the responsibility for his direction and granting him the freedom of choice within the framework of divine will, which has decreed this freedom for him in what he chooses. Thus, freedom and responsibility place this being in a noble position, establishing for him a high status in existence, befitting the creation into which God has breathed his Spirit, whom he has fashioned with his own hands, and whom he has favoured above many of his creations. Secondly, it places the responsibility for his fate upon this being, making his affair his own within the framework of the greater will, as we have mentioned. This stirs within him all the feelings of vigilance, caution, and piety. He knows that God's decree for him is realized through his own actions. Indeed, God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. This is a heavy responsibility that neither its bearer nor its keeper neglects. Thirdly, it makes man aware of his constant need to return to the steadfast divine standards, to remain assured that his desires have not deceived him, have not misled him, so that he is not led by desire to ruin, and God's decree is not fulfilled against him in those who take their desires as their God. In this way he remains close to God, guided by his guidance, enlightened by the light he has provided him in the bewildering paths of life. Therefore there is no end to the purification and cleansing of the soul that this human being can achieve, as he bathes in God's overflowing light and purifies himself in the abundant waters that flow around him from the springs of existence. After this, a model is presented, a model of the failure that befalls one who corrupts their soul, veiling it from guidance and staining it with sin. This model is exemplified in the fate of Thamud, who faced God's wrath, torment, and ultimate destruction. In this passage, it is noted that Thamud, in their arrogance, rejected their prophet. Their arrogance alone was the cause of their denial. This arrogance was embodied in the emergence of their most wretched one, the one who hamstrung the she-camel, the most miserable and wretched of them all for committing such a grave sin. The messenger of God had warned them before this act, saying to them, "Beware of harming the she-camel of God or touching the water reserved for her, for it has been allotted for her one day and for you another." This was stipulated when they had asked for a sign, and God made the she-camel a sign for them, a creature with a special significance that we do not delve into, for God has not informed us of the details. Yet despite the warning, they rejected the admonition and hamstrung the she-camel. Though it was this most wretched one who physically struck the blow, the entire community bore the responsibility. They were all counted as having hamstrung her because they did not restrain his hand and even approved of his deed. This principle of collective responsibility is a cornerstone of Islamic social justice in this world, and it does not conflict with the individual accountability in the hereafter, where no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. It is, however, a sin to neglect mutual advice, communal solidarity, and the encouragement of righteousness, as well as to fail to curb oppression and evil. At that moment, the hand of divine power moves to strike the great blow, so their sustainer destroyed them for their sin and levelled them with the ground. The word damadam conveys the wrath and the ensuing torment. The very sound of the word damadam suggests what lies behind it, portraying its meaning with its resonance, almost painting a terrifying, dreadful scene. God levelled their land, raising it and lowering it in utter destruction, an image that emerges after the intense and violent devastation, and he does not fear the consequences thereof. Thus, the vengeance of God is severe indeed. Verily, the grasp of your sustainer is severe. This is the effect that is intended to be instilled in the hearts by this verse. In this way, the reality of the human soul is tied to the great truths of this existence and its unshakable scenes, just as it is tied to the divine law in seizing the deniers and the arrogant, within the bounds of the wise decree that assigns a term to all things, a time to every event, an end to every matter, and wisdom to every decree. For he is the sustainer of the soul, the cosmos, and all decrees.